This is video 2, and we're talking about quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals have 4 sides, and that means that there's several different types of shapes that are going to fall into this category. One of those would be parallelograms. Notice that we have these sides that are parallel to each other, that the ones that are 10 feet are parallel to each other. And then we have these ones that are 7 feet. They're also parallel to each other. So parallelograms have opposite sides that are parallel. So they have 2 sets of parallel lines. Rectangles and squares fall into this category, right? They are parallelograms. They also have some special properties. For instance, we have perpendicular sides are perpendicular to each other, but of course they also have the parallel sides, the opposite sides that are parallel. Squares, of course, then also have the added thing that all 4 sides are equal in length. So rectangles and squares are parallelograms. Now we have trapezoids, and in a trapezoid we have one set of parallel sides. So only one, we have opposite sides that are parallel, but the other 2 are not. Notice, right? NO and MP are not parallel to each other. And so part of this is just learning to look at the shape and know what it is based on the information given. We have some more trapezoids down here. As you can see, these sides are parallel. I'm trying to draw that on this little thing. I keep missing. Okay. That side and this side are parallel. And then on this last one, we have these sides parallel. So those little arrows just indicate the sides that are parallel. Sometimes it's helpful to note that whenever you're looking at the shape or the figure. What do we call this one? As you can see, there are no parallel sides, right? We don't have opposite sides parallel. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So we just call this a quadrilateral, because it has 4 sides, but it doesn't have any other special features that would cause it to be a trapezoid or a rectangle or a square. So here are formulas for finding area and perimeter of a parallelogram. Fairly simple formulas. The area of a parallelogram is simply base times height. Notice that our base and height are perpendicular to each other. And then the perimeter is adding up the sides, or you can take 2 times A, because there are 2 of those, plus 2 times B. Let's apply that to these problems here. So if we're finding the perimeter, we're going to take 2 times 9 plus 2 times 12, because those are the length of our sides, and we don't need this for the 8 is the height. We don't need height for perimeter. We simply need the length of the sides. So we've got 18 plus 24, and our perimeter would be 42 inches. Now you always want to label with your units, so make sure you figure out that as you work through the problem. And then for area, we're going to take the base times the height. Well, this is my base and this is my height. So we simply take 12 times 8, which is 96. Now, when we're talking about area, all areas are going to be in square units. So this would be inches squared, or square inches. You can write it either way. So it's fine either way. You just choose which one you like the best, I guess. On the second parallelogram, let's find the perimeter. So we have the length of our sides. We have 2 times 11 plus 2 times 14, which gives us 22 plus 28. So my perimeter is 50 feet. And 1 mark means feet and 2 means inches. Okay, and then area of this parallelogram. This one is drawn on the outside, the 12. We don't need the 14 for area. We need the base and we need the height. Remember, the height's always perpendicular to the base, so if you just look at this base extended out, you can see that. Let me draw that a little bit better. And we're going to take base times height, so 11 times 12. And I get an area of 132 square feet, or feet squared. Remember, that is a way to label that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter which one you use. We're going to find the area of each of these parallelograms. So let's look at the first one, and we can see that we have a base and a height that are perpendicular. We don't need this part, not for the area. We take, remember, area is base times height. So our base is 22, our height is 16. It doesn't matter which order you put those in, base times height times base, we're going to get the same thing. So we have an area of 352 centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Okay, let's look at the next one. So same thing, we're going to do base times height. And we don't need that one, right? This is our height because it's perpendicular to the base. If you just extend your base out, you can see that, right? And it's going to be perpendicular to that base. That gives us then 13 times 9 2/3. You can use your calculator for that. You don't have to change the 9 2/3 to an improper fraction. You can just simply key it in, and we get 125 2/3, and that would be square yards, which I'm going to write with the exponent yards squared. Okay, on to some trapezoids. So with a trapezoid, we have a special formula. It is the sum of the bases, right? So we add our bases, divide by 2, and then we multiply by the height. You have to be careful how you do this. The parentheses are important, and so make sure that you use those. The perimeter is just add up the sides, right? You just add the 4 sides because that's all we need to do. Let's write out our perimeter. Would be 15 plus 8 plus 15 plus 26. We don't need this measurement when we're finding perimeter. So we get a perimeter of 64 inches. And then we're going to find the area. So these are our bases. It has 2 bases, and that's the sides that are parallel to each other. It doesn't matter which one's which. 8 can be base sub 1 or sub 2. So it doesn't matter what order we put those in. I can say 8 plus 26, even though I labeled it differently, divided by 2, times my height of 15. Maybe I should label that different since I put it in the formula that way. I'll make this one the B sub 2. So let's just call them base 1 and base 2. 8 and 26. Doesn't matter which one we call base 1 or base 2. So we get 8 plus 26 is 34. 34 divided by 2 is 17. So now we have 17 times, did I write 15? That's supposed to be a 12. Times 12. I just noticed that I did that. We don't actually need this measurement or this one when we're finding our area. We need the height, which is 12. You know how that's easy to do. Just grab the wrong number and put it in there, and it doesn't work out too well. When we multiply, we get 204 square inches. On these, sometimes it's good for you to actually mark your parallel sides, especially when, like this drawing, you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure on this. But you actually, if you look at it, it's got the angles that are 90 degrees labeled, right? It shows you that. So that makes these two sides the ones that are parallel to each other, and it causes us to have our base, our height of 20, because remember there are two bases. So there's our bases, base 1 and base 2, a height of 20. We don't need this number. We don't need the 25 for area. We need the 25 for perimeter. So I was talking about area first. We'll just go ahead and do the area. And I'll cross that out still while we're working on that. So we have our two bases. They are 4 and 19. And we divide that by 2. And then multiply by our height of 20. So remember, the height has to be perpendicular to your parallel sides. And that's what that's showing with these 90-degree angles marked for you. 4 plus 19 is 23. If I divide that, it's 11.5. So my area is 11.5 times 20. And then I have an area of 230 square centimeters. Let's go ahead and do that perimeter. The perimeter is just adding up our sides. And so for our perimeter, we actually need all 4 of these because we don't have it drawn inside the trapezoid this time. It's on the outside. We will have 4 plus 20 plus 19 plus 25. So perimeter of 68 centimeters. All right. On these, we're just finding the perimeter, and these are shapes that are kind of put together with different, well, the first one we could say we have 2 rectangles put together, and on the second one we have a few rectangles put together. Now, there's different ways to go about this, but on the first one, we just need to know, what is this part right here, right? What is that part? We can find that by taking 25.2 and subtracting 8.1. So that would be 17.1 meters, and then we would just add them all up for the perimeter. So my perimeter will be 8.1 plus 17.1 plus 18.7 plus 25.2 plus 27.2. I get a perimeter then of 104.8 meters. Now I do want to point out that we left out one thing. We also need to know this one right here. So I need one more thing in there. This is the total. And that side would be the 27.2 minus 18.7. But something I would also like to point out is that, I'll do that on the next one. So 27.2 minus, sorry that I was about to leave something out, 18.7. And so this side is 8.5. So we need to add that 8.5 on there also, or we're going to be in a mess. All right, so 104.8 is my total. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sides that I had to add in here. Now here's something cool about this next one. 8.5 goes all the way across. So my perimeter is going to be 2 of those, right? Because this plus that is 8.5. And then I have 2 times 4.7 because these sides add up to the 4.7. So I actually have the opposite sides that are the same. I get 17 plus 9.4. And my perimeter is 26.4 inches. We're about to 15 minutes, so this is our stopping place, and then we'll have video number 3 for the rest of this.